The apartment smelled of balloons, champagne, hope. I believed in our promise to stay together. Phone buzzed. You coming? No. Office party. Promotion. I'll make it up. Louder silence than celebration. Untouched table, deflated hope. Sat rubbing hands, chill settling. Busy. Small word, growing chasm. She celebrated. I dismantled anticipation. Staring at wedding photo, paths once aligned. Breath escaped, silent question hanging. She returned late, casual talk of day. I nodded, short hollow responses. Distance unspoken, palpable. Bedroom, separate sides. She scrolled phone. I stared ceiling, city hum mirroring silence. Dawn, muted grace. Sat up, looked away from vast space. Cold, clear realization.
The morning after the missed party did not begin with an argument. It began with silence. The MC woke up before his wife again. He always did now. The bed felt larger than it used to, colder too, even though she lay just a few inches away. He sat on the edge, tying his watch slowly, deliberately, giving her time to wake up if she wanted to. She didn't. In the kitchen, he brewed coffee for 2 out of habit. When the machine stopped, he poured only 1 cup. The second mug remained upside down on the counter, clean, and used, like a backup plan no one intended to use. She emerged later, dressed sharply, confidence stitched into every line of her posture. Promotion had changed her rhythm. Faster steps, straighter shoulders, eyes already looking ahead instead of around. Morning, she said, distracted, scrolling through her phone. Morning, he replied. 2 words. No warmth. No follow-up. She took her coffee without noticing it was already cold. He watched her from across the table, waiting for something, an apology, an explanation, even a joke to break the stiffness. Nothing came. Instead, she checked the time. I might be late again tonight, she said. We're restructuring teams. He nodded, not because he understood, but because he was tired of explaining what he felt. At work, the MC went through the motions. Emails, meetings, nods, smiles that didn't reach his eyes. His colleagues congratulated his wife more than they asked about him. You must be proud, one of them said casually. He smiled. Of course. But pride and loneliness had started living in the same space, and they did not get along. That evening, he did something he hadn't done in a long time. He waited. Dinner stayed warm on the stove far longer than it should have. The clock ticked louder with every passing minute. At 9:47 p.m., he finally turned off the flame. At 10:32 p.m., the door opened. She walked in energized, talking before she even noticed his expression. You won't believe what happened today, he raised a hand gently. Not to stop her, just to slow the moment. You missed something important to me, he said calmly. The words landed between them like glass. She exhaled, already defensive. I told you it was important. This promotion, this is my future. And I was part of your past? He asked quietly. She frowned. Why are you making this a competition? I'm not, he replied. You are. Silence again. Thicker this time. She grabbed her bag. I'm exhausted. We'll talk later. Later never came. That night, lying in the dark, the MC realized something unsettling. He wasn't angry anymore. He was adjusting his expectations, adjusting his hopes, adjusting to the idea that love, when left unattended, doesn't explode, it fades. And fades are harder to notice until it's almost gone.
Distance doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with slammed doors or shouted words. It arrives quietly, between conversations, between glances, between 2 people sitting on the same couch, but living in different worlds. The MC noticed it first in the smallest things. She stopped asking what time he'd be home. He stopped reminding her to rest. They still shared the same apartment, the same bed, the same last name, but something invisible had moved in between them, occupying all the space that love once filled. That morning, she left before sunrise. The MC stood by the window, watching her car disappear into traffic. No goodbye kiss, no backward glance, just purpose pulling her forward like gravity. He whispered to the empty room, "Good luck." The room didn't answer. A life on pause at work, the MC made a mistake. A small one, but it was enough to surprise him. He had always been careful, focused, reliable. Now his mind drifted in meetings, replaying moments that didn't seem important at the time. Her smile when she got the promotion call, the way she hugged her phone more than she hugged him. How her laughter had slowly stopped including him. "Are you okay?" his manager asked after the meeting. "Yes," he replied automatically, but the word felt dishonest. During lunch, he sat alone in his car instead of the cafeteria. The radio played softly, some love song about growing old together. He turned it off halfway through. Some promises don't break. They just expire. The invitation that changed nothing that evening, he tried again. Not with accusations. Not with demands. Just honesty. She came home earlier than usual, heels clicking confidently against the floor, jacket draped perfectly over her arm. "I made dinner," he said. She looked surprised. "Oh, you didn't have to." Those words hurt more than rejection ever could. They ate together. The food tasted fine. The silence didn't. "I was thinking," he began carefully, "maybe this weekend we could go somewhere. Just us. Like before." She paused, fork hovering midair. "This weekend?" she asked. "I can't. There's a networking retreat." He nodded slowly. "Next weekend then?" She hesitated. That hesitation lasted only a second, but it said everything. "We'll see," she replied. "We'll see." The phrase people use when they already know the answer. Alone together later that night, they sat on opposite ends of the couch. The TV was on, but neither of them watched it. She scrolled through emails. He stared at reflections in the dark screen. "Do you think I've changed?" she asked suddenly. He looked at her. Really looked. "Yes," he said, "but not in the way you think." She turned toward him. "Then how?" "You're stronger. More confident," he said honestly. "But you're also farther away." Her expression hardened, not angry, but guarded. "I'm building something," she said. "You knew this would happen." "I knew you'd grow," he replied. "I didn't know you'd grow away." Silence again. Not the heavy kind this time. The final kind. She stood up. "I'm tired." And just like that, the conversation ended before it ever really began. The mirror moment that night, the MC stood alone in the bathroom, staring at his reflection. Same face, same body, same man, yet he felt invisible. He realized something terrifying. He had been shrinking, not because she was growing, but because he had stopped growing himself. All his energy had gone into supporting her climb. Somewhere along the way, he forgot to climb too. And nobody, not even love, respects someone who abandons themselves. He didn't cry. He didn't break. Instead, something quieter happened. He made a decision, not to leave, not to fight, but to change. The first step forward the next morning, he woke up before her again. But this time, he didn't wait. He put on running shoes he hadn't touched in years, stepped outside while the city was still dark, started running, not away from his marriage, not toward revenge, but toward himself. His lungs burned. His legs protested. He smiled. Pain meant movement. Movement meant life. As the sun rose, casting golden light over the city, the MC realized something powerful. Even if she never noticed his absence, he would notice his return. And this time, he wouldn't disappear for anyone. Sometimes love doesn't end because someone leaves. It ends because someone forgets who they are.
The silence didn't arrive suddenly. It grew. It slipped between conversations, between footsteps, between nights and mornings, until it became the loudest thing in the house. The MC noticed at first not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. Mornings became mechanical. The wife woke up before the alarm now. No hesitation. No laziness. No shared groans about another long day. She moved with purpose. Suit pressed. Hair perfect. Phone already glowing in her hand. The MC watched from the bed as she checked emails while brushing her teeth, replying to messages while tying her heels. Once, mornings had meant shared coffee. Now, they meant parallel lives. "Don't wait up," she said casually, slipping on her coat. He nodded, not because he agreed, but because he had learned nodding was easier than asking questions she no longer answered. The door closed. The apartment returned to stillness. The first sign wasn't emotional. It was informational. At dinner one night, another rushed meal, another half conversation, she mentioned a company dinner. "Tomorrow's going to be late," she said. "Board-level event." He paused. "Bored?" She froze for half a second, then continued eating. "Yeah, I didn't tell you." No, she hadn't. Not because she forgot, but because it hadn't crossed her mind. That was when it hit him. He wasn't being left behind. He was being left out. The distance wasn't anger. It wasn't betrayal. It was worse. It was pride. She spoke differently now. Confident. Precise. Polished. Every sentence felt like a presentation. When he talked about his day, she listened politely, but her eyes drifted. When she talked about hers, he listened fully, but felt smaller with every word. Not because she was wrong to succeed, but because she had stopped bringing him with her. Success didn't change her schedule. It changed her posture. She no longer leaned in. She stood above. The MC planned the party quietly. Nothing big, just friends, a few colleagues, something to feel seen. He didn't tell her until the night before. She looked at the calendar on her phone, frowned slightly. "I can't make it," she said. He smiled. "It's okay. Just come for 10 minutes. She shook her head. "There's a promotion dinner. It's important." Important. The word hung in the air. More important than him. He didn't argue. That was the most painful part. He had learned that asking to be chosen only reminded him he wasn't. The apartment was full that night. Laughter, music, voices overlapping. But every time the door opened, his chest tightened. She didn't come. People asked, politely at first, "Where's your wife?" "She's busy." Later, the question stopped. The silence returned. When the party ended and the last guest left, the MC sat alone among empty glasses and folded chairs. The apartment felt larger than ever. He cleaned quietly, not because he wanted things tidy, but because movement kept the thoughts away. Later that night, scrolling aimlessly, he saw it. A post. Her photo. Elegant. Confident. Surrounded by executives. Caption. Honored and grateful for this promotion. Long nights finally paying off. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. He searched for himself in the picture. He wasn't there. Not in the room. Not in the words. Not even in the gratitude. She came home late. He was awake. She smiled briefly. Kinda tired. He nodded. Then, before fear could stop him, he asked the question he had been avoiding. "When did I stop being part of your future plans?" She froze. Not angry. Not defensive. Confused. As if the question itself surprised her. "I don't know what you mean," she said carefully. And that was the answer. She truly didn't know. Because she hadn't noticed the distance, only the destination. That night, lying awake beside her, the MC made a quiet decision. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just clear. He would stop chasing attention. Stop shrinking to fit. Stop waiting to be included. If success had changed her, then growth would change him. Not to compete with her. Not to punish her. But to reclaim himself. The next morning, he woke before her. Not to watch her leave, but to leave first. He didn't announce it. Didn't explain. He just stepped out into the early light. Not running away, but walking towards something he hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. The moment you stop begging to be chosen is the moment you start choosing yourself.
The morning after, a quiet shift began to unfold. A new routine, forged in quiet determination, replaced old dependencies. Her success, a vibrant energy, highlighted a growing imbalance between them. He observed, without judgment, the subtle signs of her world expanding beyond his. In the quiet reflection of the mirror, a new resolve solidified within him. I'm just not chasing anymore. Memories of a shared past began to stir a quiet doubt within her confidence. Late into the night, he charted a new course, rebuilding his own world. A new balance emerged, a quiet understanding of independence for them both.
Morning light revealed cold truth. She missed the party, absence silent verdict. Heart felt like stone. Her ambition, once shared, now chasm. Office window, watched city hum, noting changing dynamics. Saw her celebrating with colleagues, joy distant. Unnoticed doorway, distance deepened. Thanks for understanding. Thumb hovered, no reply. Silence my response. That night, staring reflection, saw strength, not betrayal. Jaw tightened, resolve forming shadows. Imagined her boardroom success overshadowing mine. Eyes sharp with strategic awareness. Under city lights, walked alone. Independence, quiet power, path to embrace. Back desk, fingers precise keyboard. Decision made, control reclaimed. Doorway, eyes met silent challenge. Realization dawned her face. Nodded, walked past. Distance first step reclaiming yourself.
The office felt heavy as I sat across from her. Distance grew, but here we were. Her eyes wavered. Hands tense, she hesitated before speaking. I didn't mean to hurt you. Thought you'd understand missing your party. Understand felt hollow. It's not about understanding. About presence in lives, not sidelines while one races ahead. She flinched, words striking nerve. Tension boiled to this. I've worked hard. Proud. Why wrong? Not wrong. Heart thumped. About balance. Partnership. You climbed. World waited. Choice clear. We need separate paths. Care can't repair constant distance. Bravest choice is walking away.
The apartment felt unfamiliar the night I returned alone. Not empty, just silent in a way that echoed. Her absence wasn't loud. It didn't scream or accuse. It simply existed, like a space where sound refused to return. I placed my keys on the table and stood there longer than necessary. For years, this room had been a shared rhythm. Arguments softened by routine, happiness diluted by habit. Now, stripped of expectation, it felt honest. I didn't sit. I didn't turn on the lights. I walked to the window instead. The city glowed below, millions of lives moving forward without pausing for mine. Promotions celebrated. Parties continued. Dreams shifted hands. And yet, for the first time, I didn't feel left behind. A different kind of loneliness. Loneliness after loss is loud. Loneliness after clarity is quiet. I made tea, not because I needed it, but because I could. No one to impress. No one to explain myself to. I sat on the couch and let the weight settle, not on my chest, but into the floor beneath my feet. This wasn't collapse. This was grounding. My phone buzzed. Not her. A message from an old colleague. Heard you turned down the team transfer. Didn't expect that. I smiled faintly. They never expect you to choose yourself. The shift begins. The next morning, I woke early, not from anxiety, but from intention. Gym, cold shower, notebook. For the first time in years, my goals weren't reactive. Not prove her wrong. Not keep up. Not hold on. Just forward. At work, I spoke less. Observed more. I noticed how meetings worked, who talked loudest, who decided quietly. I noticed how respect wasn't demanded, but accumulated. And I realized something unsettling. I had been shrinking myself long before she ever left. Crossing paths. A week later, we crossed paths in the elevator. No arguments. No tears. Just two people recognizing the version of each other that no longer fit. She glanced at me, really looked this time. You seem different, she said. I am, I replied calmly. The elevator doors opened. She hesitated, then spoke softly. I hope you're okay. I met her eyes, not with resentment, not with longing, but with certainty. I am. And I stepped out. What remained? That night, I deleted old photos, not out of anger, but respect. They belonged to a version of me that had served its purpose. I opened a blank page in my notebook and wrote one line. Peace is power when no one is watching. The storm had passed. What remained was clarity. And clarity, I was learning, is dangerous in the best way. Not every ending is loud. Some end quietly and change everything.
Change doesn't announce itself. It arrives subtly through tone, timing, and the way people begin to listen. I didn't try to be seen. That was the difference. A shift in the room. The meeting room was louder than usual. Everyone was talking, selling ideas, defending territory. I waited. When the discussion circled back to the same failing strategy for the third time, I spoke. Not louder, just clearer. There's a gap in the data, I said calmly. You're optimizing effort, not outcome. Silence followed. I stood, walked to the screen, and explained, not passionately, not dramatically, but precisely. Numbers, flow, consequences. No ego, no urgency, just truth. When I finished, no one interrupted. The department had leaned back slowly. That actually solves the bottleneck. For the first time, the credit wasn't shared out of politeness. It was directed. Recognition without applause. After the meeting, people stopped me, not to congratulate, but to consult. What do you think about this? Can you take a look at that? When you have time, they weren't seeking validation. They were seeking clarity. And clarity attracts power. An unexpected witness. I felt her presence before I saw her. Standing near the glass wall outside the conference area, my wife. She had come for a cross-department briefing. She watched as people gravitated toward me. Not loudly, not dramatically, naturally. Her expression wasn't jealousy. It was realization. This wasn't the man who waited for approval. This was someone others aligned around. Our eyes met briefly. No confrontation, no apology, just a quiet understanding. I was no longer chasing anything. The offer. Later that evening, an email arrived. Subject, strategic task assignment. Priority, high. It wasn't a promotion. It was something more valuable. Autonomy, access, decision-making power, trust. I closed the laptop and exhaled slowly. Not relief. Arrival. What changed? I walked home under city lights that no longer felt overwhelming. Success didn't feel explosive. It felt steady. I realized something important. I didn't rise because she left. I rose because I finally stood still long enough to see who I was. You don't need revenge when growth becomes visible.
Some endings don't come with fights. They arrive quietly, when two people realize they're no longer walking toward the same horizon. The invitation she asked to talk. Not urgently, not emotionally, just formally. A cafe near her office. Neutral ground. I arrived early, not out of anxiety, out of habit. When she walked in, I noticed something immediately. She looked successful, polished, composed, and unfamiliar. We spoke about work first. Her promotion, my new role, surface-level updates, like colleagues catching up. Then she paused. "You've changed," she said. Not accusing, observing. I nodded. "So have you." She smiled faintly. "I thought distance was temporary," she admitted. "I didn't realize it would become permanent." I didn't argue, because distance doesn't become permanent by accident. It becomes permanent when growth goes unshared. Truth. Finally spoken, she wrapped her fingers around her cup. "I didn't mean to leave you behind," she said quietly. I met her eyes. "I didn't stay," I replied. I moved forward. Silence followed. Not uncomfortable. Honest. The decision, she took a breath. "Do you think we can still fix this?" I didn't answer immediately. I searched myself, not for anger, not for hurt, only alignment. Then I said the truth. "We already fixed ourselves," I said gently. "But not us." Her eyes softened. No tears, just understanding. We stood. No dramatic goodbye. No promises. Just a shared acknowledgement that this chapter had already ended long ago. Outside, the city moved like it always had. Indifferent. Alive. What remained that night? I returned home, not to loneliness, but to peace. I realized something important. Love doesn't always end in betrayal. Sometimes it ends in divergence. And that's not failure. That's honesty. Some relationships don't break. They complete their purpose.